Welcome everyone to another episode of Chad Sports Talk. As you know, my name's Chad and take a dive into all sports. This is the college football championship weekend, aka week 14. This is make or break because on Sunday you have Selection Sunday for the college football playoff, and it's time to determine who's in and who is out. There should be some very key matchups this weekend, and I will cover all 10 conference championship games. But before we go dive into that one, if you could, please smash that thumbs up for me, especially if you like this content. It really pleases the YouTube gods and helps this channel out. While you're there, you can also subscribe. I know there's a lot of you viewers that have been watching my videos, and I greatly appreciate it, and I love you all for doing that. But not many subscribe. Doesn't really hurt, and it really helps this channel help me provide more content for you, for your entertainment purposes. Now, let's go ahead and recap last weekend. I actually went 11-3, counting all the games I kind of mentioned. So, pretty good aspect. I was kind of off on the Big Ten. Missed a couple of those games. That's where I kind of stumbled. But otherwise, it wasn't that bad. So I'll just go ahead and just worry about, like I said, the 10 conference championship games. And I'll start off with tonight's games. We have 2 on the docket for Friday night. And we'll start off with Conference USA, where the 11-1 UTSA Roadrunners will play host to Western Kentucky for Conference USA Championship out in San Antonio. Now, this will be a rematch from the October 9th showdown they did up there in Bowling Green, Kentucky, in which UTSA was able to slip away from the Hilltoppers 52-26. It was a close contest for most of the game, but then UTSA spurred on the comeback and went on their magical run in the season. But since that game, Western Kentucky has not lost. They have been on a 7-game winning streak. Their offense is just humming along, averaging about 43 points a game all season long. That's what they average. And during those 7 games they won, the most they coughed up to any team defensively was 21 points. So their defense really stepped up. Now, note, this is really against Conference USA, so it's kind of hard to really kind of determine the aspect on this. But then you got to look on the flip side for the Roadrunners. These past 3 games for UTSA have not been good. Southern Miss was taken to them, and their defense had to step up because the offense was inept most of that game too until the very end. Same thing with UAB. I knew that one's going to be close anyways, and it took a miraculous drive at the end for UTSA to sneak away with that victory. And then North Texas just ran them over. And as much as I would like to jump on the UTSA bandwagon and have them win to get a represent Conference USA as the number 1 team in Conference USA, I have a feeling that Western Kentucky is going to come down to San Antonio and beat up UTSA to take the Conference USA crown and just really, really burst the bubble of UTSA's championship aspirations for Conference USA. But it's definitely a team on the rise, and probably could win the Conference USA title before they depart for the American. So tonight it's going to be Western Kentucky over UTSA. Out in Vegas, you have Utah, who's 9-3, playing host basically to a 10-2 Oregon team. This is a rematch from the November 20th blowout that Utah put on Oregon. Oregon came in that game unprepared, and they got smacked. Now, not much has changed since that, really. Oregon didn't play that very well against Oregon State. They did what they had to do to win. So this is definitely one of these games I can see Utah winning, and it's going to be difficult for teams to kind of beat another team twice in 1 year. So I want to lean towards Oregon on this one to come out with a game plan to stop the Utes and find a way to work around that defense. And I'll give this one, because right now Utah is only favored by 2.5, so I'm going to give it to Oregon to knock off Utah and probably get that Rose Bowl bid. Then we head out into Jerry's World in Arlington, Texas, host of the Big 12 championship game between Oklahoma State and Baylor. This is also a rematch from October 2nd, in which Baylor barely beat Oklahoma State 24-14 based on their defense. Now, Oklahoma State came out gunslinging against OU in their Bedlam victory, and their defense was able to stifle the Oklahoma offense that second half. So Oklahoma State's defense definitely has got a lot better. But like I said previously, there's hard times to beat a team twice in 1 year, and Oklahoma actually has a chance to make the college football playoffs with a victory. So they have a lot riding on them. So will the stress get to them? Could Baylor kind of take advantage of that one? I mean, there's a lot of underlining stories in this, but I think Oklahoma State will be able to corral their emotions to focus on the task at hand. I mean, they got to do one game at a time, and they got to have certain things kind of fall place anyways. But they have to do their part, and I think they will. I think they will edge out Baylor in this one. It's gonna be a lot closer than the 5.5 that's current the line. Then we do the MAC championship up there in Detroit at Ford Field, where you have Northern Illinois and Kent State going at it. Like I said, the MAC doesn't get really a lot of love, so I'm not going to spend too much time on these guys either. This is also another rematch back from November 3rd, where Kent State outgunned Northern Illinois 52-47. So, the defense between these two schools are kind of optional. And it's going to be really a offensive parade, basically, right now. Kent State right now is favored by 3.5. And this is a continuing theme I'm going to go throughout these, because there's a lot of rematches in these showdowns. But I think Northern Illinois can edge out Kent State for that victory, even though Northern Illinois backed into the championship game. But I have a feeling they could squeak at that one out. So I'm taking the Huskies. In the Mountain West Championship game out there in San Diego, where San Diego State is playing host to Utah State. San Diego State has, for a while, looked a little inconsistent, but they have now started to thrive at the right time. But Utah State is no slouch either when it comes to offense, especially led by Bonner. He has over 1,300 yards passing and 32 TDs. So that aerial attack by the Aggies is going to be really, really key. And it's like that setting the Aztec front really has to get into that backfield and disrupt the timing. I went against San Diego State last week against Boise State, and they sacrificed me to the sun god. So I'm not going to go against San Diego State again. I say they'll squeak past Utah State. It's going to be a lot closer than the 6 points, and they're currently favored. I think it's going to be like a 3-point victory. And then the Sun Belt. This one's going to be a quiet good game. You have a 10-2 Appalachian State taking on 11-1 Louisiana. These two programs are the cream of the crop when it comes to the Sun Belt, and this one should not disappoint either. And once again, this is a rematch. Last time these two faced off was October 12th. And Louisiana put the smackdown on them, 41-13. App State's won since then. I mean, that's just the point of that one. And so, App State's only had those two losses. That was against Miami and Louisiana. And Louisiana's only loss so far is their opening week against Texas. But it's just a prolific offense of these two schools. And, Bryce has 300 yards passing He's only 99 yards away, so you'll get that plateau this game. And the rushing attack of Noel has over 1,000 yards as well, but he can't seem to find the pay dirt. Right now the App State's favored by 3, and even though I say it's hard to beat the teams twice, but I can't overlook Louisiana. The way they are playing, I mean, they're when they went up to Liberty and they're down, not favored in that game, and then they smacked the Flames a couple weeks ago. This is type of a game that I think that Louisiana is going to do it again, and I think they're going to blow out Appalachian State in this game. Off to the SEC championship game over there in Atlanta, we have the number 1 team, the best school in the country in Georgia, undefeated 12-0, will take on the 11-1 Alabama Crimson Tide. And this one has a lot of implications for the college football playoff. Pretty much everyone's written in Georgia as being in, so even if they stumble in this game and end up lose, they'll still get in. Just because it's Georgia and the SEC, they've been undefeated all year long, and if you lose to a quality Alabama school, you're not going to really hamper them, and I don't see no fault in that, really. Georgia, as I said, all year long, they're the best team in the country. Alabama's ranked pretty high, which I don't think they should be. I think that's more of an SEC bias with terms of everyone. That's just my personal opinion. But the Tide have not been playing well either. They had to have a late comeback victory against Auburn and do it in OT. So there's a lot of things, and Georgia right now has one of the best defenses in the nation, and Alabama and Bryce Young struggled against that Auburn defense. It's only because Auburn defense was more times on the field than the offense that really, led to the breakdown towards the end of that game. But I have to go and give this one to Georgia. I think just Georgia's going to be way too much. Then the American Athletic Championship between the 11-1 Houston Cougars and the undefeated 12-0 Cincinnati Bearcats. This is going to have huge implications. It's going to be a great quarterback duel between two and Ryder. Both of these guys have been just throwing a rock everywhere. And I can really see a really offensive showdown. And these schools never faced off. So it's going to be a first-time meeting. Right now, Cincinnati's favored by 10.5. And I don't see why. Cincinnati does seem to struggle with a lot of opponents. And they have recently really began to fire on all cylinders again on the offense, make sure to get those stylish wins. And Cincinnati, I think, really needs to win this one to still be in the hunt for the playoff, because there's so many other scenarios that couldn't keep them out or even knock them out. I mean, you still got, the Pac-12 champion, or not Pac-12 champion, but, well, if Alabama beats Georgia, then, Cincinnati's, chances could slip a bit. And same thing with, Oklahoma State winning definitely puts some stress on the Bearcats as well. And the committee has a very unfavorable view of the group of 5 schools as it is. So Cincinnati is really going uphill. They have to put that all aside to concentrate against the Houston Cougars. And I am going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to have Houston upsetting Cincinnati to take the American and just nullify that whole argument altogether. Then to Indianapolis, where we have the Big Ten Championship between the 11-1 Michigan Wolverines and the number 2 team in the country, taking on the 10-2 Iowa Hawkeyes. Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan program finally got over the hump of being able to knock off Ohio State, completely knock them out of the playoff picture. And Iowa Hawkeyes have rebounded after their spoiler maker upset and have came back into the championship aspect of the Big Ten. Now, as we know, the Iowa Hawkeyes secondary is very ball hawkish, so they're looking to probably pick off McNamara quite a few times, which I think is going to happen. But that Michigan front is going to be in that Iowa backfield a lot of times as well. So this is going to be a really narrow victory. Is going to be really close. Right now, Michigan's favored by 11, and that's way too high when these two. Because Iowa's defense is definitely better than Ohio State's. So I don't see them putting up the same numbers against Ohio State. It's going to be a lot closer matchup between these two, but Michigan still will end up winning, just not by 11. And with that victory, Michigan will lock their position in the college football playoff for the first time. And then you have the last one, the ACC championship between the 10-2 Pitt Panthers and the 10-2 Wake Forest Demon Deacons. There's no Clemson this year, so there's a first, but Pickett is just one of these quarterbacks that you really have to look at. These are broken a lot of Marino's records at Pitt. I mean, he already has over 4,000 yards passing. He has 40 TDs. He is a phenomenal quarterback, and you can't take nothing away from that. Wake has been a very quality team as well, and Hartman's really led that Wake offense almost to perfection, except for a couple stumbles here and there. But I have to look at Pitt as a more quality school. But I'm taking Pickett over Hartman in this scenario. I'm going to have Pitt winning the ACC and Charlotte against Wake. Well, there you go. These are my picks, so it's like really unique scenario. So if you kind of look at how I did it, I had Georgia winning, so they're number one. Michigan winning, they're number two. Now with Cincinnati out, I'm going to have Oklahoma take that third slot, and I'll have Notre Dame sneaking in. But in other news with the college football world, as many of you have already known, Lincoln Riley has left OU for USC. That has now trickled down to the recruits. They're coming in, and now they're starting to decommit from OU. One of the five-star recruits is already within moments after decommitted from OU, committed to USC to follow Lincoln Riley. There's players already in OU entering the transfer portal, so OU's next season is going to be a shell of its former self. So you might see them being like the number 3 or 4 school in the conference until the next coach steps up. And then Brian Kelly shocked the Irish and went to LSU after this phenomenal season where they're on the cusp of possibly making a third playoff appearance. He left to head down south to Baton Rouge for a whole lot of green. Same thing with Lincoln Riley. The contracts are huge that they got snagged up for. Notre Dame has now officially tapped Freeman, the defensive coordinator, as the new head coach of the Fighting Irish, which eliminate the possible rumors of Fickle moving from Cincinnati to Notre Dame. But they still got that Cincinnati connection with Freeman, who used to be defensive coordinator there. So I think Brian Kelly picked his replacement. And like I said, those are my picks. Like I said, Georgia, Michigan, Oklahoma State, Notre Dame should be your 4 teams in the playoffs. Go from there. College football, like I said, really needs to expand the playoff format because there's so many quality schools. I mean, a 2-loss team shouldn't be automatically eliminated. I mean, Alabama, if they, especially they lose, definitely be in. Same thing with Ohio State, or Ole Miss is another one that 10-2. Michigan State's a 10-2 team. If San Diego State wins theirs, they're a 1-loss team. They should probably even get a nod in as a wild card. But that's just something they have to work out and kind of find ways to make that scenario pay off. This championship weekend should be really good for college football. You'll really see who's going to be in. And on Monday, you'll have my recap and my reaction to the playoff. And then the updated version of my PowerPoint Index Top 25, which doesn't really favor Cincinnati, unfortunately. So I will leave you here and just close this out with hey, if you like this comment, or just smash that thumbs up for me. You also leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, especially which games you're really looking forward to. I know the SEC championship game is going to be high on the radar, as well as that Big 12 title game. So definitely be watching those two and kind of see how things plan out. And once you're down there commenting and liking, go ahead and subscribe. Once you subscribe, hit that bell notification until next time I post a video. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.